When it comes to writing adversity essays, otherwise known as challenge essays, many med school applicants mistakenly believe they need to tell a shocking story about a traumatic or tragic event. Maybe you worry that you haven't been through any challenges that are significant enough to write a good adversity essay. Or maybe you're unsure of how to write about a difficult event in a way that feels comfortable. In this video, we'll talk about what adcoms are actually looking for in adversity essays, and then we'll go over some pre-writing strategies to help you prepare for any secondary prompt that falls into this category. Finally, we'll show you how to turn a weak, forgettable adversity essay into one that will set you apart from thousands of other applicants. This resource is part of a 6-video series that will prepare you for the 6 most common med school secondary essay prompts: the diversity essay, the adversity essay, the why us essay, the gap year essay, the leadership essay, and the additional information essay. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can be the first to see our new resources with all the latest updates and guidance on med school admissions. Alright, let's start with a couple of different examples of what an adversity essay can look like. UPenn Perelman School of Medicine's prompt reads, "We are all navigating through challenging times, and physicians and physician scientists must contend with many instances of uncertainty. Describe a time when you faced a situation that was ambiguous, confusing, or uncertain, and how you navigated making a decision without complete information. Your response should be 3,000 characters or fewer." Another prompt from Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai narrows the scope a bit, but it still falls into the adversity category. It reads, "What is the toughest feedback you ever received? How did you handle it, and what did you learn from it?" Your response should be 250 words or fewer. As you can see, there's room for some variation among the prompts in this category. Many applicants assume they need to tell a story about something traumatic or life-altering in order to stand out, like a serious illness or death, poverty, or a natural disaster. But while you of course may write about any of these topics if they apply to you, they make up just a fraction of all the topics that can make an impactful adversity essay. Adcoms aren't seeking out the most shocking emotional stories. This isn't a competition of who's had it the worst. They just want to hear your story, as long as it thoroughly responds to the prompt. Your response to any adversity prompt should reveal the following information. 1. How you respond to difficult, often unexpected situations. 2. How you manage stress, resolve conflicts, find creative solutions, learn from failures, and persevere despite challenges. And 3. That you have the maturity, resilience, and capacity for growth to do well both in med school and in your career as a physician. Just a few examples of challenges you might consider writing about for your adversity essays are letting your best friend down, or failing on a personal or work-related project, struggling to make friends after a big move, facing major criticism, or mediating in conflict between friends or colleagues. Now that you have a better idea of what you should aim for in your adversity essays, let's look at some pre-writing prompts you can use to start developing them before you even receive your secondary prompts. Pre-writing in the spring and early summer can save you tons of unnecessary stress and time when you finally receive your secondary applications. This way you can submit your secondaries as soon as possible in the rolling admissions window for the med schools you're applying to. 1. List at least 3 times you failed to complete an important task or reach a goal you had set for yourself. 2. List at least 3 times you didn't live up to your own expectations. 3. List at least 3 times you didn't live up to someone else's expectations of you. 4. List at least 3 times you had to actively respond to a significant issue or resolve a conflict. After completing each of these lists, set a 10-minute timer and answer these follow-up questions for each of the experiences you've brainstormed. What emotions were you experiencing during this challenge in your life? Whom did you go to for advice or support during this time? What actions did you take to overcome this challenge? What new skills or insights did you learn? How do you think these new skills or insights will be useful to you in med school and as a physician? Feel free to reset your 10-minute timer as many times as you need to develop your ideas. It may also be a good idea to step away from your pre-writing for a day or two and return to it with a fresh perspective. Save all of your pre-writing in a place where you'll be able to easily locate it when you receive your secondary prompts in the summer. When the time comes to write your adversity essays, try to identify the experiences in your pre-writing that demonstrate the greatest maturity, transparency, self-awareness, and growth. During the pre-writing process, it's also a good idea to familiarize yourself with prompts from previous admission cycles, as they often stay the same from year to year. You can browse the prompts for every medical school in the US and Canada, as well as a full-length sample essay in response to these prompts, over 1,000 essays in total, at our Secondary Essay Premium Example Hub. Now let's check out an example of what a weak response to Icahn's prompt looks like. I received the toughest feedback of my life during the 19th century literature course I took my freshman year of college. Immediately, I found the text to be extremely dense and difficult to comprehend. It was interesting, but I felt totally out of my depth. Most of my classmates were English majors, so I often felt like the odd one out. We had to write 4 10-page literary analysis papers during the semester, and each time we had to go through a peer editing process with a small group of our classmates. I thought I had thick skin, but most of the students in my group had a laundry list of critiques for my papers, and with each negative comment they gave, I became more and more discouraged. I tried to implement their feedback, but after receiving a C on my first paper, I strongly considered dropping the class. However, a conversation with my professor changed everything. She encouraged me to take the negative feedback with a grain of salt and remember that even if literary analysis doesn't come naturally to me, that doesn't mean that I can't develop a skill for it. Over time, I grew more accustomed to the complex prose, and I gained confidence in my ability to analyze the books we were reading within their 19th century socio-political contexts. I earned a B overall in the class, and I learned that I have what it takes to succeed at any new skill if I just persevere. So what's wrong with this essay? First, the applicant never specifies exactly what the tough feedback was. They just vaguely mention a laundry list of critiques. Your response to this prompt should clearly spell out what the tough feedback was. The applicant's chosen topic here, getting a C in a class but then managing to boost the final grade up to a B, also falls a little flat for an adversity essay. That's not to say that you can't write about a classroom experience, but keep in mind that a lot of med school applicants have earned B's or even C's in at least one of their classes, so essays written on this topic all start to blur together for the adcoms who are reading them. You should only consider writing an adversity essay about your grades if you have a deeper story to tell about how that classroom experience impacted other areas of your life. But one of the biggest mistakes in this essay is that it's too passive. The applicant briefly mentions that they had a conversation with their professor and then mentions that things gradually got better. This falls flat because the narrative focuses on things that happened to the applicant rather than describing specific actions they took to improve their circumstances. One reason why it's important to describe the actions you took to overcome adversity is because it allows you to show that you're prepared to take those same actions when you encounter challenges as a med student and a physician. Taking what we know about what adcoms are really looking for, let's now check out an example of a new and improved response to the same prompt. During my first week as a phlebotomist in a primary care clinic, a patient reported me to our practice manager, Melinda, for being somewhat withdrawn. I felt ashamed, but Melinda sensed something was off, so she asked if I was all right. In this essay, the applicant has chosen to tell a more distinctive, personalized story than the one about struggling in literature class. This story also allows them to easily demonstrate their patient care experience and their interest in medicine. And crucially, it isn't ambiguous about the feedback they received. The applicant clearly states what the feedback was and their reaction to it. The next paragraph reads, "In her office, I explained how I had received a call that morning that my uncle had passed away. Instead of speaking to management and processing the news at home, I tried to keep my problems to myself while continuing to work. Melinda said that we all make mistakes, but we have to know when to ask for help." In this paragraph, the applicant goes beyond just stating that their manager, Melinda, gave them helpful advice. They detail what led to that feedback and they acknowledge the mistake they made in retrospect by trying to push through a difficult situation instead of seeking support. The final paragraph reads, "With Melinda's approval, I took the rest of the day off to grieve. That patient's honest feedback taught me that attempting to push through personal difficulties can lead to substandard care. Now I make sure to maintain my own well-being so I can give my best to my colleagues, my patients, and their families. I prioritize sleep more than ever, and I communicate regularly with my manager and colleagues to make sure everyone has the support they need to deliver top quality care. As a result, over the past year, I've built strong rapport with our one-time and regular patients. At Icahn, I intend to cultivate a healthy environment for my patients and my peers by participating in training initiatives through the Office of Wellbeing and Resilience, like the Mindful Leadership Program. For the conclusion of this essay, the applicant does a great job of reflecting on the lessons they learned from this tough experience, the actions they took as a result, and the results that those actions have yielded. Then they even go so far as to explain how they'll apply those lessons to their future endeavors at Icahn. This is a great example of how to naturally demonstrate fit for an institution, even when the prompt doesn't explicitly ask you to do so. By choosing to take this essay in a different direction for the improved draft, we managed to resolve all the issues with the first draft. Instead of a vague surface-level essay about getting some negative feedback from classmates, receiving some cliche advice from a professor, and then raising a C in the class to a B by the end of the semester, we produced a much more personalized, reflective, self-aware essay. The improved draft thoroughly addresses the Icahn prompt by explaining what the negative feedback was, how the applicant handled it, the action they took in response to it, and what they learned from it. Then it even takes the extra step to describe how the applicant will apply this lesson specifically to their time at Icahn. The adversity essay may be one of the most commonly misunderstood of the 6 major essay types, but it doesn't need to be complicated. As long as your response is personal and self-reflective, you'll be on the right track. Using these pre-writing exercises and revision methods, your essay will demonstrate to med school adcoms that you have the tools, the maturity, and life experience necessary to handle anything med school throws at you. For more essay writing strategies pertaining to the diversity essay, the Why Us essay, the gap year essay, the leadership essay, and the additional information essay, check out our other videos in this secondary series. And wherever you are in your med school essay writing journey, be sure to check out our secondary essay premium example hub to browse sample essays in response to every single prompt required by every medical school in the US and Canada. There are over 1,000 essays in total. Happy writing.